What's up YouTube, this is the Alchemic, and today I have just a little discussion I wanted to do. So, before you guys all, I just want you to get ready to hear this, okay? And if you can't handle it, hit that unsubscribe button, you know? 420 subscribers, totally cool. Alright, so, here's the announcement. I will be stopping playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Really just competitively, I want to say that. Not like I haven't been to too many locals out of time or whatever. It's just that I've gotten really tired of just seeing BA be dominating since my school year has started, and it's already been pretty much the first semester, which is we go by half-year semesters basically. The first semester has been all BA shadolls, and the release of Queefworks in, I believe, what was it, like October or something, or November or something like that. It's been pretty boring, so, yeah, I just want to make this quick discussion, just to sort of discuss why I'm just going to try and relax from, playing too much Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there is such thing as too much Yu-Gi-Oh! I know that, from just personally playing on my own. So, here I'm just displaying a couple cards from my Evil Storm deck, but, basically, I've just kind of gotten a little tired of seeing People keep saying, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Can keep evolving, there's just so many plays you can do. Remember back when Dragon Rulers were a thing, where the babies were there, and all you had to do was just keep pitching, use Super Rejuve, bring them back. But then, what has Dragon Rulers become now? More of a toolbox deck, where plays that you make have become really, not only just that much more strategic, but it's become more of a toolbox deck than just keep on playing. And it's still partially okay, it's still an okay deck, because you can still play it and make tons of plays. Draco Sack is not as good as it used to be, but it's still pretty good. So, what I've decided to do is, I'm just trying to relax and play some of the other sort of more different games, and I want to particularly take this discussion to discuss the different card games. So, particularly Pokemon is what I'm leaning towards more than Magic, and I'm going to explain that in a second. So, at the moment, I currently find not too much interest in Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing with my friends isn't as fun as it used to be, because a lot of our players have moved on to different other schools and stuff. So, it's very little, and playing at locals isn't very fun, because I don't particularly have the budget in order to spend that much in order to be a decent deck. I mean, my decks are still relatively good, which you guys will be seeing deck profiles in the future, but they're just not strong enough to for me to have as much fun as I usually do. So, what I've decided is, I'm just going to do a discussion between these three games. So these are the three dominant. You can see Pokemon is third and possibly going to be second. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the second, and then Magic's obviously the first. So, no, I'm not going to play Magic, because, I honestly don't really like this game, as much, but I'm going to discuss that in a second. So, Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of people want to complain why Yu-Gi-Oh! And this might be a long video because of this. A lot of people say Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a 40-card deck, whereas Pokemon and Magic say the standard is supposed to be 60. Because generally you want to have as much draw power as possible. And obviously people know from Pokemon there's just so many staples that you can use to basically disrupt plays. In Yu-Gi-Oh! The best card we have is Upstart Goblin. That's pretty much the best generic draw power card, unless it's like Reckless Greed or something, but Upstart Goblin's obviously the most used one. So, remember, Upstart Goblin is draw one card and increase your opponent's life points by 1k. So, but then in Pokemon, we have cards like N, which says shuffles all your, basically it just disrupts everyone's play. It shuffles both players' hands into the deck, and then each player draws a card basically for how much, how far they are from winning. The people who are losing will get the most cards, and people who are winning will get the least cards. So, but then in Magic, I'm not actually quite sure what's meta in the Magic, but I definitely know in Pokemon we have, because I've been using I think it's Victini EX and Keldeo EX deck, where it just basically powers up on Keldeo, and that's another thing that Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic have in difference. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot more comeback potential. That's what we have the top deck factor, the ability to take a card directly from the top of your deck and be able to just do anything and nuke the field, because back when top deck dark hole was a thing, that is one characteristic of Yu-Gi-Oh that doesn't happen here. Now the thing is, Magic and Pokemon are both resource games, and that's why they need to run 60 cards. The forest and the energies and such make it so that you need to run those more of those cards. And you have to run multiples, because you can't just run one or whatever, because you are permitted in Pokemon and Magic, you are permitted to run more than one of each of these resource cards. And you're unable, because in Yu-Gi-Oh, all the plays are the same. You can just, basically, you just need to have the cards in your hand. The cards that you use in Yu-Gi-Oh plays are a lot more into the strategy rather than rather than having Pokemon Pokemon and Magic limiting the amount of plays you can make per turn. In Pokemon and Magic, the main thing that you're supposed to do is the first couple turns are very passive, because all you're doing is playing lands and energies and attaching and stuff, and maybe make one or two plays. But then at the end, what you end up seeing is that you're powering stuff like, you have the Garruk's Horde. Basically, you just play this 7/7, and you just keep poking at them every single turn. But then, and then in Pokemon, I have this. This is just from the starter deck, because I just got it randomly. It's the Greninja. Basically, you just keep poking at them, and the game doesn't. The game ends basically when you finish poking at them. But then in Yu-Gi-Oh, with something cards like Evilswarm Ophion, your opponent has to learn how to play against around them. There's more interaction, in my opinion, with Yu-Gi-Oh than there are with Pokemon Magic. Because Pokemon Magic, you can see that all you do, the first turn you draw this, okay, play it, okay, maybe be able to play one of these small mana ones. Maybe if I start with Froakie, right, I'm not able to go into Greninja directly on my first turn. I have to wait a couple turns. But then in Yu-Gi-Oh, drawing something like Rescue Rabbit lets you summon it turn 1, banish, get 2 Helios, and exceed for Ophion already, your one boss monster. So Yu-Gi-Oh sort of starts off stronger and ends off stronger, but starts off very more steady at the pace of the game. But then in Pokemon and Magic, you can see that you have to actually you power stuff up, and then at the end, that's when you have one thing and you try and rely on that one thing, you protect it. And I'm not saying that Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't do that, because Yu-Gi-Oh has Boojins. Boojins are all about protecting Yamato and protecting Susanoo and whatever the other ones are. And I feel like in Pokemon and Magic, there's less of a I don't know how I actually have to describe it. In Yu-Gi-Oh, remember, we have cards like Pandemic for I'm just using Evil Swarms as an example.